Hey, welcome back guys. Yubel is a powerhouse in Master Duel and it will become a much bigger powerhouse in the future. And this is what I want to show you today. What will happen with this deck when we get the new support, the Fiendsmith stuff, which is obviously also support for other decks like Snake Eyes, but also for Yubel, already very strong and could be the strongest deck after a few hits to the Snake Eyes engine and getting the Fiendsmith stuff. But what can this actually achieve? This is what I want to show you today. I will show you the Nightmare Throne combo, and then I will also show you why the Fiendsmith engine is very nice in getting your plays started, because with one Fiendsmith you can basically access your entire Yubel engine. I will show you this in a moment. This is very interesting. If you like my videos, please consider subscribing, hitting a thumbs up and the notification bell. This would help me out a lot, especially the notification bell. But let's start. We are going in Nightmare Throne and a lot of the plays you already know. If you know Yubel, we are going to add Samsara Lotus, our starter, normal summon Zara, and then tribute it to summon a Spirit of Yubel. A Spirit of Yubel can then either add to the hand or set the Nightmare Pain. We are going to set it to play around a Droll and Lockbird. Going to activate the card and then activate its effect to destroy a dark monster. We are destroying Spirit of Yubel, adding the gruesome Grave Squirmer, you know the card. And then we have trigger 1, Nightmare Throne, trigger 2, Spirit of Yubel. Spirit of Yubel will summon the normal Yubel, and Nightmare Throne will grab Yubel Terror Incarnate that, if we want to, can now be special summoned, and this is what we are going to do. Now we have two bodies on the field that we will use for our Unchained Soul Lord of Yama. And don't you worry if you're not familiar with the Fiendsmith engine, I will explain to you what this does, as this will be a big part of the metagame in the future. I guess we will get the Fiendsmith stuff within the next 2 or 3 packs. Unchained Soul Lord of Yama will search for Unchained Soul of Sharavara, and at this point we can shuffle back the Yubel and the Yubel Terror Incarnate to get our monster negate life in the form of Phantom of Yubel. Next thing is that we are going to not put the Gruesome Grayscale in its trap zone, but summon it to the field, and then we can link away the Yama and the Grave Squirmer for Unchained Soul of Rage, our first interruption that we won't keep on the field but will get back later on. I will show you. We will resummon with the effect of Gruesome Grave Squirmer. Now that I see it, I forgot to banish the Grave Squirmer. This is obviously banished. We'll resummon Spirit of Yubel, which we then can destroy with our Unchained Soul, a Lord of Shavara, no Shavara, only Shavara. And now we have 2 triggers. We are going to banish our Yama to summon back Spirit of Yubel, and then also activate Spirit of Yubel, which is not once per turn, to summon a Yubel. Here comes the Spirit of Yubel back from the graveyard and the Yubel from the deck. Now we have a lot of bodies, and now we are going to access our Fiendsmith engine. And the cool thing about the Fiendsmith engine is that you can either start with the Fiendsmith engine with your Fiendsmith Engraver in the hand that you will see in a moment, or you can use this generic Link 2 monster, the Moon of the Closed Heaven, which is normally used to make an Underworld Goddess, but this is like the little Underworld Goddess, because she's a Light Fiend, and for the Link 1 Fiendsmith monster, you need a Light Fiend. So we can turn every 2 effect monsters into the Moon of the Closed Heaven, which can then go into the basically Link 1 Fiendsmith monster, as you will see in a moment. We are going to activate Shavara's effect because Shavara was triggered. We sent it to the graveyard to set the Abominable Chamber of the Unchained, which will later be able to resummon our Rage here. Now we can activate our Fiendsmith stuff. We are going to go into the Link 1, the Fiendsmith Requiem. You can only make this once, and then you can quick effect tribute this to summon a Fiendsmith monster from the deck. And then you can also equip this card to a Fiendsmith monster on the field, giving it, I think, 600 attack. So we are going to get this away, tribute it away to summon the Fiendsmith Engraver. Fiendsmith Engraver says you can discard this card for cost, add 1 Fiendsmith spell trap from your deck to your hand. So this is the starting point if you have the Fiendsmith in the hand. We will use this in a moment. We can also target 1 Fiendsmith equip card. So for example, the Requiem equipping to Engraver. We control and 1 monster on the field, so you can equip the Requiem to the Engraver, and then you can use Engraver's effect to basically send away the Requiem that was equipped and a monster on the field to the graveyard. It's not destroy, it's sent away, so that's very important. You can also use the Fiendsmith Link 2 that we will see in a moment. This can also be equipped to the Fiendsmith Engraver, and then this also has a third effect, because why not? If this card is in your graveyard, we can shuffle 1 other Light Fiend monster from our graveyard into the deck or extra deck for cost, and then special summon this card. So very strong. I will show you what we will do with the Engraver. We send Engraver and Spirit of Yubel a Link 2 into the Link 2 Fiendsmith sequence, which needs at least 1 Light Fiend monster. This is the fusion summon card of the archetype, being able to fusion summon and can also equip. Now we are going to activate the fusion summon effect, and this needs to put back monsters or material from the grave, the field, or the hand. We are going to put back Moon of the Closed Heaven and Fiendsmith Requiem, and this is the cool part about the Fiendsmith engine. All the Fiendsmith Fiendsmith cards basically recycle themselves, so they put themselves back into the deck, so you can use them again on your next turn. So you always, as long as you have like a Fiendsmith engraver in the graveyard, have place for the next turn. This is very strong, a very strong engine, and the next big thing to come in Master Duel besides Temper Dragon. We are going to summon Fiendsmith Lacrima, which on summon can target a light fiend monster in our graveyard and either add it to the hand or summon it. We are going to target the engraver. This could also be summoned. We are adding it because we have not used the first effect of engraver. Otherwise, if you already have used the first effect, you wouldn't add it here, you would special summon it. Now we can discard this card, add one Fiendsmith spell trap from our deck to our hand. We are getting Fiendsmith Tractors. Fiendsmith Tractors says add one light fiend monster from your deck to your hand, then discard one card. And we can also banish this to fusion summon with material from our field and our hand. So we are going to activate this to grab the non-Fiendsmith card, the Fabled Lurry, a very old card, a fabled card. If this card is discarded to the graveyard, special summon it. We are going to discard it because of the effect of Tractors. And now it is mandatory to activate this and special summon it to the field. Next thing we are going to do is we are going to make an Appaloosa here for 2, and the Rage is in the graveyard now, which obviously is one of our interruptions, but we have the trap to resummon it, which is very nice. Now we are putting away Yubel and Samsara Lotus for another Phantom of Yubel, because we need this for the Moon of the Closed Heaven, which we are making once again. Don't be confused here, we want another Light Fiend body on the field, so we can fusion summon with the Fiendsmith Tractors in a moment for the Fiendsmith boss monster. Now we are using the third effect of Fiendsmith Requiem, shuffling back the Lurry into the deck and special summoning itself, and now we have 3 Light Fiend monsters on the field. Now we are activating Tractors, banishing it, fusion summon with Lacrima, Moon Off, and the engraver for our boss monster, the Fiendsmith Desiree. Desiree says if this is equipped with any Link Fiendsmith monster, then it can basically quick effect, non-targeting, negate up to the Link monster's rating. In this case, we will equip the sequence in a moment, which is a Link 2. So this can quick effect, non-target, negate 2 cards on the field or up to 2 cards on the field until the end of this turn. So for example, let's say your opponent plays a Lightning Storm or an Evening Match, then it could go ahead and make Fiend or activate Fiendsmith Desiree to just negate that. We are going to equip the Fiendsmith sequence to the Desiree. Now it can also not be targeted and has this negate effect I just mentioned here. One thing I forgot at this point is that when the Fiendsmith Lacrima hits the graveyard, we can activate its effect to shuffle back a Light Fiend and then burn our opponent for 1200 damage, which is another way how this deck can just put its own resources back into the extra deck, which is very nice. So now for our next turn, we have an Engraver here and a Lacrima, which we can just start with the Engraver next turn if we wanted to, shuffle back the Lacrima, special summon the Engraver, and then we have the Link 1 in our extra deck again, the Fiendsmith Requiem, and could do it basically all over again. So the next thing we are going to do, now we have the Fiendsmith part ready here, and this is our end board. So what we would do on our opponent's turn is activate the Abominable Chamber of the Unchained, summoning Soul of Rage, and we have an Appaloosa for 2, we have the Monster Negate, we have the quasi Omni Negate because you need to negate on the board here. That is also once again an Omni Negate on the next turn. We have Nightmare Fan protecting everything here from being attacked because they need to attack Phantom of Yubel or the next Yubel that will be summoned by Phantom's effect. And then we have, as I already said, the Chamber into the Soul of Rage into SP Little Knight. And now let me show you the other thing that the Fiendsmith brings to Yubel, which is if you start with the Fiendsmith, you can actually access your Yubel engine just with one Fiendsmith Engraver. Okay, now let me show you what is possible with just one Fiendsmith Engraver and one discard. We will add this discard later on. So Fiendsmith Engraver we can discard to add one Fiendsmith spell trap from our deck to our hand. We are going to add the Fiendsmith Tract once again, activating the Tract, and once again adding the Fabled Lurry that we need to discard now via the effect of Tract, and now the Lurry will trigger, we will summon it, and this is a Light Fiend monster, which is why we have it in the deck, so we can make it into Fiendsmith Requiem. Send Requiem away to get another Fiendsmith Engraver, and at this point we can equip the Fiendsmith Requiem to the Engraver and make a fusion monster, a contact fusion actually. We can fusion summon just on the field into Necro-Equipped Princess, which needs one monster equipped with a monster card plus one Fiend monster card, must be special summoned from your extra deck. So we can make this with these 2 bodies here, which is crazy. But even if we would not have this card, so this was a TCG exclusive actually, so the OCG can't use this, but normally we also get this. If we would not get this, we would, to make this combo work, need an additional monster here. Otherwise we can just use the Fiendsmith Engraver and the Fiendsmith Requiem to fusion summon into the Necro-Equipped Princess. This is important important because what we can do now is activate Engraver in the graveyard, shuffle back the Requiem to summon, and now we have 2 bodies. So this is what I'm talking about. If we don't get the princess, then we will need another body, because you need 2 bodies and one of them needs to be a light fiend, which is our Fiendsmith Engraver. We are now going to link 2 into Fiendsmith Sequence, the fusion guy that can now fusion, and we are putting back Engraver and then the Necrocrypt Princess to once again fusion summon the Fiendsmith Lacrima. This time around we are going to special summon the Engraver, because we have already used the Engraver's effect to discard and summon the Lurry, because now adding this to the hand wouldn't do anything to us. We will just lose a body because we can't use the effect anymore. So we are summoning it here. We have 2 level 6 bodies, which we can now overlay into Beatrice. Beatrice can detach from material to send any card from our deck to our graveyard. We are going to detach the Engraver, sending the Samsara Lotus. At this point we are going to link summon in to the Muckraker from the Underworld. Now our Fiendsmith Lacrima in the grave triggers, so we can set back the Fiendsmith Sequence to the extra deck, burn our opponent for 1/2, and now we need our additional discard here, because now the Muckraker from the Underworld can discard a card from the hand and then resummon a fiend monster from the graveyard, and this is how we get into our Samsara Lotus. This is, by the way, also how the Snake Eyes deck can access the entire Snake Eyes engine via this same line, basically. The difference being that they use the Beatrice to send Snake Eye Ash, and then use Beatrice and the Fiendsmith Sequence for a Promethean Princess that can then resummon the Snake Eye Ash. The same idea basically. Now obviously you can use your Samsara Lotus to go into your Spirit of Yubel and into your Yubel plays as you already know it. So a very strong engine, very impactful for Yubel. Let me know in the comments what you think of this. Are you excited for the Fiendsmith stuff, or do you fear the power creep that will happen with this new engine? Let me know in the comments, and we will see each other in the next one.